Harrogate, North Yorkshire, May 2021. Emergency services are called to the Majestic Hotel, where a horrifying crime scene lies in wait.
Hotel staff first realised that something was amiss when there was a report from someone in the room below that there was water coming through the ceiling. So it was late at night and the hotel night manager and a colleague went up to the room. The night manager attempted to open the door and he felt some kind of resistance.
We peered around the door and what he could see were some specks of blood on the bed. And then he noticed a substantial amount of blood on the floor. He pushes the door a bit more.
And then as he kind of pushed further, he realised that the weight against the door was actually the body of a woman.
This must have been such a shock for the staff.
When they went further into the room, they saw a man sitting on the ground in the bathroom, and he had also suffered stab wounds.
It was literally a bloodbath.
Hotel staff alert emergency services. Both police and paramedics rush to the scene.
This is a scene of total chaos, but also of horror.
It's going to be important for detectives to establish what had gone on in that room, why did this murder happen, and was anybody else involved?
Harrogate is a Victorian town located in the heart of North Yorkshire. It's renowned for its natural beauty and historic architecture.
Harrogate is a spa town in the north of England. It's in the Yorkshire area in an area of outstanding natural beauty, so it's very, very popular with tourists. You'll get people coming there for the therapeutic spa waters, the beautiful architecture, and also the access to places like York, which is around half an hour away, and then if you're looking for a bigger city, somewhere like Leeds. So Harrogate's very, very well placed. It's also somewhere that's very, very expensive to get on the property ladder. I think it's the most expensive place in the north of England for property prices.
It's a reasonably wealthy area, although like most wealthy areas in England, also has pockets of less wealth. But it's a popular tourist destination to explore that kind of spa history alongside many other spa towns.
Harrogate is beautiful, quaint place, and it's famous, of course, for Betty's tea rooms and literary festivals. So it's a lovely place to go and visit.
It's somewhere that people like to go and they like to take nice walks and see the pretty villages, and it is somewhere that is affluent.
Harrogate is somewhere you would consider a really safe area. It's a very kind of prestigious place to live and work. It's somewhere that's very, very kind of affluent, and it's not somewhere that particular violence is typical at all.
In terms of murders in North Yorkshire, it's one of the lowest rates in the country. So Harrogate being there, murders there would be rare.
In the heart of the town lies the Doubletree by Hilton Harrogate Majestic Hotel and Spa.
The Majestic is a 4-star hotel and it's classed as a luxury spa hotel.
The Hotel Majestic has a storied history. It's played host to Indian royalty, to aristocracy, to film stars. It's a very dominant and very imposing building, and it was constructed around the time when Harrogate in particular was very, very popular among the Victorians for its therapeutic spa water properties. And lots of people would go there, and there's a real rush to build grand tourist attractions and hotels.
A stunning hotel. So going there would be for a special occasion. Its grounds are really gorgeous and the building itself is absolutely stunning, and it's a really special place to stay.
But on the 4th of May, 2021, the quaint town of Harrogate has its peace shattered when a chilling discovery is made in Majestic Hotel.
So on the night of May the 4th, the hotel manager gets a report of there being some sort of flood. There's water coming in the roof of one of the guests' hotel rooms. So of course he goes up to investigate.
Hotel night manager and a colleague went up to the room. The night manager attempted to open the door and he felt some kind of resistance, but as he looked through the door, he could see there was blood. He could see that there was a scene that perhaps had taken place. And then as he kind of pushed further, he realised that the weight against the door was actually the body of a woman, and he could see very tragically that she was deceased. He was able to get into the room by stepping over her body, and he could see there was lots of blood. She was in a pool of blood and there was blood within the room.
It was very clear that this was not a room in normal kind of array, and it would have been very shocking and very disconcerting. And I think we can see that through the actions that, having discovered one body, there is a continued attempt to get entry into the rest of the room. At that point, I think you probably, in your mind, it's like there is a water issue, and that just kind of takes over. We need to solve that before we can even process what's in front of us.
He then made his way to the bathroom. Both the bath and the shower were on, accounting for the leak as reported by the guest in the room below, and he described seeing a horrific sight.
There's a male body there, and he's also died. This is a scene of total chaos, but also of horror, because there's blood all over the place, but also the shower's running, the bath is overflowing, and the male is positioned with his back against the bath, but with his head back in quite a strange angle. This must have been such a shock for the staff. I mean, this is not an average day at work for anybody who works as a hotel manager. I know that hoteliers see all kinds of things, but thankfully, nothing like this. This is probably one of the most memorable, for all the wrong reasons, days that he's ever had at work. And that's not something that anybody should ever have to see. Highly traumatic.
The staff member calls 999 and emergency services are dispatched to the hotel within minutes.
Paramedics are called and both are pronounced dead at the scene.
Police obviously come upon this very distressing scene with 2 dead bodies, lots and lots of blood, and so they will have had to undertake certain immediate obvious steps like identifying who the 2 people were. Police would start by looking at things like hotel records in terms of names and cards used to check in, whether the 2 guests had checked in under their real names or an assumed name, and then they'll be looking to kind of trace their steps back, trace whatever identifying documents they may have on them. So they'll ordinarily be looking for a wallet which might contain a driving license, a bank card or an ID card, even a passport in some cases. That will enable them to then track down next of kin. So those will be the kind of steps that police will go through in terms of establishing who the 2 parties that they're dealing with are and what the genesis and what the background to this could be.
We have Shanice Gregory, 29 years old, and Michael McGibbons, also 29 years old. And it's quite clear that this is a crime scene. So the hotel room is processed as a crime scene.
Those initial stages at a crime scene, they're known as the golden hour. It's the most crucial time in an investigation when evidence at the crime scene is most abundantly available. They need to secure that and make sure none of it's lost, because it makes it very difficult to solve a crime if you don't get it right at these initial stages. It's going to be important for detectives to establish what has gone on inside that room. They need to establish it's not a double murder. We have 2 dead bodies. And the first question they need to ask themselves is somebody else involved? Are they looking for a 3rd person?
Investigators are on the hunt for answers for this shocking and bloody scene. Is there a killer still roaming the hotel? On the night of the 4th of May, 2021, emergency services are dispatched to the Majestic Hotel in Harrogate, North Yorkshire, where 2 bodies have just been discovered in one of the rooms. The bodies are identified as Michael McGibbon and Shanice Gregory, both 29 years of age, from South London. Police set up a crime scene and launched their investigation.
Shanice, she was a childcare specialist, so she would have been both a very empathetic person, but also very focused on care and making sure that children have the best possible opportunities to develop, but also somebody who can advise others. So the specialist role is not just about delivery, but is also about guidance and developing ideas. So she'd be somebody in tune not just with the children, but also with colleagues and other professionals.
Shanice was a well-liked woman, and her friends and family have said what a wonderful soul she is and what a lovely person she is. She is this kind and giving and soft woman who works in a really great environment, a giving back environment, a compassionate environment. And you have to have empathy and compassion when you're working with children. So that shows and speaks to her character.
Family liaison officers notify the victims' next of kin of their deaths.
So the impact on a family is absolutely devastating. It's like a tsunami washing over you, you losing your loved one. You've got no notice that that person's going to die. It's not like when someone has cancer and you know that they are going to die. When someone is murdered and taken away from you that suddenly, it's absolutely traumatic and it's so difficult to come to terms with. Everybody reacts differently, but the one thing they have in common is that huge grief and that huge feeling of loss and that big gap that can never be filled.
After Shanice's death, her family posted some tributes on social media, and there's a really touching one from her cousin who described her as a really caring person, and she had a sort of smile that would light up a room.
The first step for investigators is to take a look into victims' backgrounds and the events leading up to their fateful hotel stay.
Michael McGibbon was the ex-partner of Shanice Gregory, and it was said that Michael McGibbon was very controlling and domineering over Shanice and was also violent towards her. McGibbon's friends described him as a controlling person, a manipulative person. Coming from a group of friends, that sounds like someone who would decide where they're going, what they're doing, what time they go home, and was able and prepared to use manipulative behaviour to get his way. Shanice's friends certainly thought he was controlling. They thought he was very domineering over her and manipulated her to his own ends.
Investigators discover that unbeknownst to Shanice, Michael McGibbon had a previous conviction for serious crimes against another woman back in 2013.
Michael McGibbon was a 29-year-old man from Croydon in South London who was a convicted criminal. He was accused in 2013 of carrying out a rape of a complete stranger. He was charged with this offence in 2015. It was said that he had made his way home from a house party and had encountered a vulnerable woman and raped her.
This is somebody who has already demonstrated a capacity to exploit or to take advantage of someone. So the victim in the rape case was described as a vulnerable person at a house party that he has then raped.
He claimed that it was consensual, but he was convicted in 2016 and sentenced to 6 years in prison. McGibbon was released from prison on licence in February 2019.
Being out on licence is effectively somebody is freed from prison, but they are subject to recall effectively. So they are still within the terms of their initial sentence, but they've served a sufficient proportion of it and they're deemed by the parole board to be safe and eligible for release. Then come out, but with an understanding that if they breach any of their conditions or they commit a further offence, they will be recalled to prison to serve the rest of that term for that offence. Somebody's out on licence, there would be regular check-ins with people like probation. And in the case of Michael McGibbon, he was on the sex offenders register for life as a result of his rape conviction. So he would have had requirements and notification requirements as a part of that.
He was then recalled to prison in April 2019 after a probation officer found knives in his bedroom in the agreed accommodation he was living at the time. He was then re-released in January 2020.
Detectives discover that there were reports that Michael was suffering mental health issues, both in and out of prison, including symptoms of paranoia.
Michael McGibbon's mental health had been something that had been kind of on the radar for a few years. When he was in prison in 2018, he'd actually made a report about his mental health.
McGibbon had told police, told his family, told his probation officers on a number of occasions that he felt that people were out to get him. He felt there were people that were trying to do him some great harm as a result of his criminal past.
He was very worried that people would discover his previous conviction and that he had been jailed in 2016 for rape.
His mother was greatly concerned about his mental health and his overall well-being. She felt that he was mentally ill and that he needed help. McGibbon didn't have a formal mental health diagnosis, but when he was in prison, a prison doctor revealed that McGibbon told him that he had heard voices, and this was something that his own family were very keen to point out, that they believed he wasn't a bad man, but rather an ill man.
I can fully understand why a mum would want to say that about their son or daughter, who perhaps does have some mental health issues there and was showing signs of paranoia. But we do have to remember he did have, yes, a previous conviction for violence against women. He had a previous conviction for rape, which shows control issues.
This is somebody who is in a paranoid frame of mind as a result of perhaps his remorse or just shame and guilt at the offence that he'd committed, and the fact that he knew that other people would not be happy about the offence that he's committed. He had enough self-awareness to realise that what he had done was not going to be looked upon in any kind of favourable way by